So, I don't know about you guys, but I've noticed an alarming trend over the past couple of years within the fitness industry. The amount of young people hopping on PEDs has kind of shot through the roof. And even at my local gym, I've noticed the amount of young guys who are aged just, 16 to 18 openly talking about their consumption and what they're taking. Um, and while we shouldn't be shaming these boys, I do think it's important to acknowledge that a lot of them don't really understand the seriousness and the repercussions of the substances that they're taking and the effects that they'll have in the long term. And you might be asking, why is this trend continually happening and increasing more and more over the years? And as you might guess, a lot of it is due to social media.
Unprecedented number of young men are turning to illegal drugs to pump up their body image, with doctors confirming steroid abuse is rife on the Gold Coast.
And he became one of the first people to share his experience using performance-enhancing drugs on social media.
The new norm is to be jacked and shredded, sub 10% body fat, otherwise people see it as not being good enough. And there are countless examples of this, where there's evident physique inflation. Think back to iconic physiques such as Z's when we were younger. You know, that was arguably the holy grail physique back in the day, and everybody wanted to attain a physique that mirrored him. And now a lot of people would look back on his physique and kind of look down upon it and even judge it due to the fact that the physique was not as big as some of the ones that you would see more commonly today. Keep in mind, Z's was heavily abusing PEDs at the time, so what's happening is the bar is being set higher and higher for these young guys, and the only thing they see is the byproduct of those PEDs without the negative side effects. They see the way it shapes their physiques, and they too want that change for themselves. And this effect is even shown in movies. If you look at older films such as Troy and Fight Club with Brad Pitt, for example, or even more classical movies like James Bond, and you compare them with modern classics such as Thor and even the newer James Bond, you'll notice there's a clear trend of physiques getting bigger and bigger, as well as being leaner throughout time. And I think this is one of the main reasons that those expectations are being set on these young guys, because they see it so commonly in these movies and films without knowing that most of these actors are obviously on performance enhancing drugs. And they start working out and they expect these crazy physiques to be replicated in a really short amount of time. And once they see that it's not as easy as it is made to be on the movies, they will result to jumping on some sort of PEDs or SARMs earlier than they should be. And the problem with these guys getting into these at such a young age is they don't realize the serious, health side effects that come with taking these drugs. The hormonal shutdowns. Once you start, your natural testosterone will drop by default, or in some cases it'll even die out. And some of these guys end up taking TRT for life. Or the mental health aspects being the side that they can amplify, anxiety or your depression. They can even lead to roid rage in guys who are already insecure. And not to even mention the numerous organ stresses, your liver, your kidneys, your heart. And these substances are not toys, guys. It's not just a fitness thing anymore for a lot of these guys. It's in some ways a self-sabotage that's wrapped in an aesthetic package that is, neither realistic or healthy to maintain long term. And we're starting to see more and more of these cases like this. Some guys even as young as 19, which is insanity. And my biggest fear is that in the future, if something isn't done, the constant progression in chasing bigger and bigger physiques and trying to get leaner and leaner is going to cause a lot of deaths in young guys, especially with how normalized PEDs and SARMs are becoming. It's going to unfortunately lead to, probably overdosing on these things being one of the leading cause of deaths in young guys. While we've been at this, a lot of people have forgotten that fitness is also about, health and longevity. It's not just aesthetics. So while it feels awesome to be jacked and sub 10% body fat, I'm sure the long-term health side effects of that aren't, worth that short-term satisfaction. And I think we really got to look at these younger guys who look up to these icons. For example, even the Trend Twins or whatnot. And most of their stuff is done with a joke, and a lot of these guys emphasize that. But some younger audiences might not be so sure of that. And they don't get the takeaways or the correct message from that. And if there's any takeaway at all that you guys can get from this, is by far that natural bodybuilding is not easy. It's a sport. It requires time. It requires dedication. But when you build it the right way, nobody can take it from you, of course. So if you guys are thinking about hopping on some, ask yourself, would you still lift if you know it would take 5 years to get to your dream physique? Because that should already tell you based on your answer, you know. But anyways, please like the video, guys. Drop a comment if you've seen PED pressure where you train, and subscribe if you're about that growth in and out of the gym. I hope all you guys have an amazing day. Take care. Peace out.